Hi there, I'm Ken Lammers, and welcome to Minor League Matters. Today we're going to talk about, soccer and baseball. Not a whole lot of hockey news right now, but we're going to talk about the various things that have been going on in the preseasons of both soccer and baseball, and in particular the reworking of the Pittsburg Riverhounds soccer brand. Yeah. Okay, so let's get cracking. Okay, let's start with baseball because I got to tell you, for a while there, I was wondering whether baseball was going to get revved up. I know it happens every year, but for the last month and a half, I've been getting a whole bunch of stuff from Twitter feed and all that from soccer teams, right? The NWSL, the PDL, the USL, even the MLS. Uh, all these soccer teams have just been hitting me with all this stuff. And so I was wondering when the baseball stuff was going to hit. Well, it hit this last week. Suddenly everybody revved up. Pitchers and catchers reported. It was Valentine's Day, so everybody sent their mascot out to deliver Valentines, which, if Bingo shows up at your place and you're not really a baseball fan, it's got to be an interesting experience. Um, but okay, here's some of the stuff that's shown up this week. Okay, the in Corpus Christi up here on the left, Corpus Christi is going to one weekend in July and June. They're going to be the Blue Ghosts instead of the Hooks, which they are now. Actually, it might be a better logo than what they've got. It's in reference to the USS Lexington, which I guess is moored around there, or docked, or however you say it, and is actually basically a museum. Well, not basically, it is a museum. And Blue Ghosts, if you're wondering what that refers to, it refers to the USS Lexington, because apparently when it went to Midway after having the Japanese thought it had been sunk, it went to Midway. It didn't have any kind of camo on it. It was just a blue ship, and so they called it the Blue Ghost because the Japanese kept reporting this ship that they had already reported sunk, and it was up and running. Uh, Pretty impressive feat of mechanics, by the way. Okay, now down here in the bottom left, the Hens and the Tigers, the Toledo Mud Hens and the Detroit Tigers, have re-upped their affiliation through 2020. Nothing too surprising here. The Detroit would be stupid to dump to dump the Toledo Hens, one of the more known minor league AAA teams, and of course it's fairly close to Detroit, so it makes a lot of sense for them to stay on board. My trip 2-3 years ago now, when I went up around the Detroit area and hit Toledo and that, you saw a lot of support, more support out in some of the minor league teams than you really did in Detroit. So they're going to want to hold on to that to keep the support. The middle here, we've got the Redbirds in Memphis. This is just a good deal that I want to point out. If you live in the Memphis area and you can get days off to go watch the Memphis Redbirds play, you can get for $115. You can get all these seats for all these days, and a cola and a hot dog. Memphis is just doing it right. They just are. They've been doing it right for a while, including the rebrand this year, this last year, which was just amazing. They strengthened their brand rather than putting up some obnoxious logo to try to get people upset to generate news and try to make sales or whatever that way. And speaking of somebody who went with the obnoxious logo, right here to the right we have the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Okay, You'll note here that these two hats, which they're trying to sell you, aren't from, don't show that god-awful, ugly, obnoxious logo that they went with. Um, they're logos from when Jacksonville was, worked with the Expos, and more recently where they were the Jacksonville Suns. Um, and these are pretty solid, pretty good hats, really good hats. And you can tell the difference in that when you go to their site, these are the most expensive hats on the site. The jumbo shrimp hats are a lot cheaper, which should tell you which are the better logos. Further in baseball, we have here these folks up here on the left. This is the mayor of, I think, Rosemont, Illinois, which is, I guess, a suburb of Chicago, and the owner of the brand new American Association Chicago Dogs. Right? They're sitting there, and you can see the snow behind them, and they are gritting their teeth in a smile because apparently, I guess these are the first two seats put down in the Chicago Dogs' new stadium. The stadium seems to be coming along pretty quickly. The Dogs are doing a really good job of putting themselves out there and making a splash and doing a lot of PR. I'll be interested to see how well they do. And assuming the stadium gets done, I should be there in May to watch a game. So I'm looking forward to it. And if they're that dedicated, if the mayor and the owner are that dedicated that they're going to sit there in the snow and take this picture, I think they're pretty dedicated to this. By the way, the reason they were doing this is because they were starting to install seats. And if you look, they had videos in that also. But the seats were actually getting installed. They must have cleaned off the snow in those areas and started putting them in. And more power to them. I hope they get it all done in time. Bottom left here, happy birthday, Nutzy. Nutzy is the is the mascot for the Richmond Flying Squirrels. He is the saving grace of their whole logo thing. I mean, the flying squirrel on a hat or whatever you put it on, you have to explain what it is because they don't understand. It doesn't set it out clearly. And you go there and you hear flying squirrel this and all that, and then you walk in and Nutzy, although you can't see his cape as much in this, is a superhero flying squirrel, and it is a cool mascot. And it kind of saves the day on all of it. Even then, it might not have made it in here, except his birthday is the same as mine. February the 11th, I'm not sure why they chose that as his birthday, but it's a good day. And bottom right, report. The Mets would love to start Tebow in Double A this season. Of course they would. Actually, probably the Mets organization isn't all that thrilled about starting him. The guys who actually want to make people that can go all the way up to the majors and contribute. But whoever owns the Double A team wants him there now. I mean, when he was last year, when he was in Single A and A plus, they just flooded wherever he was. Crowds just showed up. Let's be honest. There's no way he should have moved from A to A plus, or advanced A, however you want to say it. He was not doing well in A. And they moved him to A plus, and for a while there, apparently he did kind of surge, but I think it caught up with him at the end. Look, he's a great athlete, better than I was at any of my sports that I played, which would, consist of two, rugby and wrestling. And he's just, the ability to play and have a 226, I think it is, batting average in advanced A and A is impressive. It's just not impressive enough that it should move you forward. So we'll see. I'm sure the Double A owner really, really wants him there. We'll see if the Mets acquiesce and move him up. So that's it for baseball. Let's move on to soccer. Okay, this is mainly the males stuff here. Although the top top up here on the left is about a doubleheader. This is cool. Chicago, for both of their opening games, the Chicago Red Stars and Chicago Fire are going to play in the same day as a doubleheader. I really, truly wish I could go to this. But unfortunately, Chicago is approximately 11 hours from where I am by car, and by plane, once I get the hop to Atlanta to jump back, probably about, half that time, and much more expensive, and involves renting a car then, hotel. Yeah, it's not going to work. So can't go there for one night. But if you're anywhere near Chicago, should go support this. Support the NWSL, and then go to an MLS game. Okay, so here down at the bottom, we've got the Las Vegas Lights premiering their uniform, or their kit, or however you want to say it, their jersey, which is god-awful ugly and should be taken out and burnt. This is not a jersey that you're going to, you'll sell it to fans. Fans will buy any jersey, just about. But it is not a good jersey. It is not the kind of thing that really impresses people and draws people in. Las Vegas has just done some really strange and weird and creepy things, like having people come out with bathrobes on during press announcements, and doing, saying that they're going to give everybody who, I think it was scores, $100 worth of casino chips. That sort of thing. It's just all strange. And maybe it's just, if you get enough press, it could be good. Just whether or not it's strange, weird, and bad press, it might be enough to get them going. We'll see. I'm not wishing them bad luck. It's been a strange odyssey watching them. Okay, now directly below me, you see that the PDL's guy who's on top of the PDL talking about how they've changed directions, which, as best I can tell, it means that they've removed themselves from the adult soccer association, or whatever the exact name is. They've removed themselves from that and are just going to be a league that's out there and associated with the USL. From what I can tell, that means they won't be involved in the tier system, which I don't know why they would care, because the tier system is meaningless in the United States since you can't move up and down them. So probably a good idea. Probably means they have to pay less as far as dues and everything, because as I understand it, despite the fact that the organization asked to have its dues lowered, the United States Soccer Federation refused. So why in the world would you stay in an organization where the tiers don't accomplish anything and you're just paying dues? No reason. And here on the far right, you have the no bag policy that was announced by the Crew. Columbus Crew has announced a no bag policy. Pretty much anything beyond like a woman's very small purse, handheld purse that she would take with her slinky black dress, nothing else is going to be allowed. And since I don't think the terrorist threat has gone up in Columbus, Ohio, at any time recently, this, I'm pretty sure, is meant to stop the Save the Crew folks from bringing in banners and stuff like that. We'll see. I mean, maybe they'll still get them in. They ought to keep trying. They need to keep that out in front of everybody. We'll see how it all turns out. But it's interesting that they did impose this policy this year. And here's the big story of the moment. They had a big press release and thing, and they did it with all their season ticket holders. They brought them in and showed them that, ta-da, we've changed our logo. Ugh. Okay, now let's be honest. The old logo for the Riverhounds was not good. It needed to be redrawn more professionally, less Elvis, more Hound, right? some sort of Hounds of Hell or something like that, right? It needed to be reworked. Uh, so it was a good concept, poorly performed. What they've moved to is a mediocre concept, mediocrely performed with mediocrity. Circle logos are not great to begin with. They're just saying, yeah, I want to be middle of the pack. And they did nothing here. I mean, it's just, they threw in things, kind of a paw print, a soccer ball. Why you would put a soccer ball in your soccer. We know you're a soccer team. Okay, they put the year of founding, which everybody does, and a circle name around it, right? It's a little bit too cluttered. I guess that's supposed to be the river underneath the internal crest. I don't know why you would have a crest inside and then a circle outside. That doesn't work either. This one is a meh concept that has risen to mehdom. There's nothing more than meh here. Now, they are probably pushing otherwise with other things, more harder sales pushes, more gimmicks to get people in, all sorts of stuff like that. So the fact that their logo has gone from being good idea, poorly performed, to mediocre idea, performed with mediocrity, will probably not harm them all that much, and they may see some bump. But the reality is they'll not be getting the bump because of this, right? Yeah, they'll get some people to buy, whatever the logos are on, because fans will always buy whatever you stick the logo on, right? But the reality is it's not a good, not a unique, not really a good idea. If they really wanted to, if they just want to get rid of the hound, why not go with the paw print? They got the paw print there. They could have made it a paw print with the name printed up above and below it, right? Or if you really had to have the circle with a name around it, get rid of all that garbage in the middle and just put the paw print in there with all the circle around it and the name, right? Something like that. Would have been better than this. Moving away from uniqueness is not a good thing. This means your brand is unidentifiable. You're just like the Columbus Crew did with their squiggle, that they've got, their scribble they've got now as their logo. They went from being a highly identifiable brand, strong brand, which, of course, made soccer fans go nuts because they think everything should be like Europe, and they think everything in Europe is just, something mediocre like this, right? It's a bad call. Hopefully it will not hurt them, but it's a bad call. And moving on from there, let's go on to the women. The National Women's Soccer League has announced when all its teams will play their first game. You have it here on the top left, and down below that, if you go look up in if you go find it in Twitter, they do give a graphic where they run through all the teams and who they play. I am mostly interested in right here. We're seeing the Courage and the Thorns. They're going to be playing in North Carolina on the 24th of March. I'm going to have to see if I can actually get there. That's kind of iffy. Maybe I can get there. But that's going to be the one that I think is most worthwhile. Obviously, they played for the championship last year, so that should make it interesting. But they still haven't put out their entire schedule, which is just annoying. I actually even sent a tweet their way earlier this week saying, where is it? Because I'm trying to schedule trips for both April and May, which could include the Courage, the Spirit, and the Red Stars. But since I don't have their stuff, their calendar, I've got all sorts of baseball teams I can fill that time with, and I'm filling the time around where I think I might stick them at with baseball teams. And you know, if the baseball teams start selling their tickets, individual tickets, before, you know, the Courage, the Spirit, and the Red Stars get their schedules up, uh, you know, I may just go ahead and buy those because I'll know that I can fit them in my schedule. Anyway, with that rant gone, what we've got down here on the bottom right is the Royals from Utah, where apparently they gave every single woman playing for the Royals a car, or at least the use of the car for the season, right? Which is pretty impressive. Uh, you know, I guess that it works out pretty well for everybody. Apparently, they've got a new stadium, they've got new lockers, locker room and everything. I will say that it did get a little bit old looking through the pictures, and every single one, everybody gasping and being in shock and surprise and amazed, but more power to them. They deserve good facilities, and if they can get a free car, or at least use of a car for out of the season, more power to them there too. Beyond all this, also in female soccer NWSL this week, there were I don't know how they stated exactly, but the United States Soccer Federation for each team released who was going to be on each team is going to get paid by USSF. So that happened this week too. You might want to look into that. So that's pretty much what I'm going to cover this week. I know you probably expect me to do a rant about the new president of soccer, United States Soccer Federation, and how he's just an inside guy, not going to change anything. Well, really kind of expected that. Disappointed in that the people who were running against him, who were the revolutionaries, couldn't get their stuff together and insisted on butting heads until the very end, getting 10%, 10%, 10%, right? Not making themselves credible at all. Whereas if they'd have joined together, they could have had like 30-some percent, been credible, and maybe moved something, as opposed to him being credible and the MLS moving into his camp, and therefore him owing something to the MLS, and we'll never see promotion relegation. Sorry, guys. It's just it. It's the way it's been for a while now. Soccer is just going to have to succeed despite the MLS, despite the United States Soccer Federation. It has so far. And the USL seems to be doing pretty doggone well getting things done kind of behind the scenes. Hopefully they'll continue to do that. So that's it, folks. If you like what you see here, hit the like button. If you like what you're seeing around here generally, subscribe and then go watch every single video 900 times, because that's about the only way that YouTube's going to allow me to monetize anymore with their new rules, which are just amazingly impossible to meet. If you want to contact me directly, you can do it on YouTube, or not on YouTube. You can do it on Twitter. I'm at LammersK, at LAMMERSK, or you can just watch my feed, subscribe to it if you want. I'm also out there. There's a blog, Minor League Matters, www.minorleaguematters.com, which more or less follows where I go when I actually go to places. Like last week when I went to 3 hockey matches. They're all in there, right? And beyond that, leave comments below. Tell me where I'm right. Tell me where I'm wrong. I promise I will try to read them. However, I can't promise to comment back because I do have the day job, and for some reason my boss expects me to actually do my job. It's it's inconvenient, but I did promise to do it. So that causes some problems there. Beyond all that, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say one last thing. What I always say, go watch some minor league sports. Y'all have a good week now.